Jinger and Jeremy Voulo, Jinger Duggar of the Duggar clan, have announced that they're taking a break from their podcast. This is only a few months after they launched their podcast. Find out why next. Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's January 14th, 2021. It's almost the middle of the month. Can you believe that we are already at the middle of the month? I can't. We're gonna do an update on Jinger and Jeremy because there's some stuff going on, you guys, and it's very, very serious. So the two of them have hosted a podcast called The Hope We Hold. It has 32 total episodes, and the premise of their podcast says this: Hi, welcome to the home of Hope We Hold podcast. You are invited to join us, listen in as we explore how to find new hope, discuss life matters, and share practical, personal encouragement. Hosted by Jinger and Jeremy, we hope you'll be uplifted, challenged, inspired, equipped each week as we engage in real life issues from a biblical perspective. The two of them have done a lot over the last 32 weeks. They have hosted several guests. They've talked a lot about both of them in their journey with faith, as well as the two of them talking about their own stories, their marriage, and dealing with adversity in their lives. This podcast is a deeper look into their marriage because you see a more off-the-cuff relationship between the two of them, and it has been met with a mix of people really liking it and other people being very critical of it. The biggest criticism I would say that this podcast gets is that Jeremy has a tendency to sort of interrupt Jinger when they're talking about various topics. People often feel like Jinger is looking to Jeremy as sort of her guider or the person that tells her what to say or sort of gives her permission to speak. He often cuts her off or at times even appears to minimize, what it is that she's said. They've talked a lot about her growing up, and, Jeremy's been very vocal on this podcast about just how ill-equipped his wife was growing up the way that she was. There were times where people felt like they were shading the Duggars. There were times that they felt like Jeremy was being critical of the fact that the Duggars did not expose Jinger to enough growing up. At one point, he even lamented that she was not necessarily prepared for life because she didn't experience enough being so sheltered. Jeremy actually went and played professional soccer. He also was in college, and he spent time in the secular world, not something that Jinger ever had any sort of experience with. So the two of them, in addition to their podcast, have a book coming out in May, and they're the parents to a brand new baby girl, Evangeline. Evangeline was born in November. She is also the younger sibling to their 2-year-old daughter, Felicity. With two children, 2 years or 3 and younger, they are a very busy family. And right before she had the baby, she announced on her podcast she would be taking a break. But now it seems like they're both taking a break. And on Instagram, they announced they would be taking the break, and they claim it's because they're very busy with their daughter. However, another source that spoke with the son says that it's less to do about their daughter, but more to do with their marriage is suffering. So here's what they say: we are taking a short break to reset going into this year and focus on baby Evangeline and Felicity. We'll be back soon enough. Drop your best ideas in the comments for upcoming topics and or guests you might want to hear from. So obviously that was met with a lot of people giving them feedback, letting them know they were going to miss them, giving them some ideas, some suggestions. But almost a week before they even announced this, someone connected to them spoke with the son. And so back on the 5th, an article came out by the Sun announcing that they would be taking a break, but this was before they officially announced it on the 14th. So this makes me believe that they might have actually spoken to someone connected to them. And it also makes me believe there might be some truth to what this source said. So here is what they have said. They said, Jinger and Jeremy are experiencing a bump in the road and want to take a step back from the podcast for a while to focus on their marriage. So they just welcomed their second daughter. They have a lot going on, but they're going to pause this project because of marital issues. They said they have been juggling a lot with a new baby, their lifestyle brand, and releasing books, all in the middle of a pandemic. They feel a bit overwhelmed and their relationship has suffered. Now, the two of them have been out and about and not often wearing masks, and a lot of people have been pretty critical of their anti-masking or the fact that they had Jeremy's parents in town along with Michelle and Jordan for the birth of their daughter in the middle of a pandemic, and that the two of them had trouble wearing masks. So obviously they are dealing with that. So they say they are still very much in love and divorce is not in the cards. They just want to work through things and come out of this difficult period together and stronger as a family. So this is interesting. They have everything going for them. Everything. They should be able to, they've got 2 children. They have 5 years of marriage. They have a successful brand. What could possibly be causing stress? Is it the amount of work that they're taking on? Is it the amount of publicity? Is it the fact that the podcast makes them dive so deeply into their lives? This is what they said. The podcast has been a huge success with hundreds of thousands of listeners, but they often have to get very personal and they want to deal with this time in private. Let me read that again. The podcast has been a huge success with hundreds of thousands of listeners, but they often have to get very personal and they want to deal with this time in private. Obviously, there's something going on in this marriage and they don't want to go onto the podcast and pretend like there's not something going on. And the fact that their podcast, this is what I'm getting from it, the fact that their podcast is so personal, they maybe feel like they wouldn't be able to be on the podcast and be truthful or be honest about what they're going through. But given the fact that this couple has been so quick to share everything about their lives, I do find it jarring that when they are struggling, they wouldn't share this because in truth, their journey is one of not just hope, but also helping people see the reality of it. Is the reality of what they're going through not on brand with what they're dealing with on the podcast, or with, not on brand with their perception online? Is there, Jeremy has had issues with, perusing online. He's talked about how Jinger has to, he talks about how he's had to remove social media from his phone. He's talked a lot about temptations. So people have always sort of had this feeling that Jeremy might have a wandering eye. I'm not suggesting that that's the case here, but there's so much here that makes no sense to me. Like, you just had 2 kids, you've got all this going on. What could possibly be going wrong? Is it that Jeremy doesn't treat her right? Is it that Jeremy's got a wandering eye? Is that she's dealing with PPD? So they're saying that Jeremy has been receiving a lot of criticism from followers because how he treats his wife while recording their podcast. You've got the criticism issue with the 2 of them, right? And then you have this issue where Jeremy seems to railroad her. Jinger looks at times on camera with him annoyed. And she posted this very obtuse update a couple weeks ago about how, she's been dealing with depression and anxiety. So in a post she shared on Instagram, she said, "Many have wept over the loss of a loved one. Countless have lost their sources of income. Depression and anxiety rampant as the future remains uncertain. I have been pondering the reality as what has taken place this past year. It's a year that has shaken not only the US, but the entire world. How easy is it for us to place our confidence in health, finances, and even the government? I have been reminded more over the past year of the truth of God's ultimate control of all things." So basically saying that, God is the controller of everything, right? In the past year, Ginger's had a couple posts about dealing with anxiety. And so part of me wonders if, because of the way their faith is, that she has some sort of anxiety, depression, that she just isn't getting treated. And because of their belief that, spirituality and God can heal them, based on the Duggars and how they feel about modern medicine, knowing that they'll use it when they need to, but knowing that they also prefer to go the more natural route, I have this belief that they probably don't take medications for the anxiety because they might believe that it's, if they're having anxiety, it could be because they're just having issues with God. So could she be dealing with some mental health issues and she's not treating it properly? Maybe. And then you're in a position where you're all the way over in California, you're away from your family, you have a husband that railroads you, you have just had a second child, you might feel alone, you might be dealing with postpartum, you might be dealing with a lot of different things. And it could just be that these 2 got married really fast and didn't really know each other. I don't know. There's so much going on here. They're not going to get divorced, but I guess the marriage is allegedly on the rocks. So tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.